Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Honest Information for Powerful Lives. Today, I'm going to be talking to parents, and that's why I've got the hat on. Usually when I go out and speak as the mommy detective, I have a trench coat and the hat and a big star on my chest, everything, because I think it is a good principle not to get in your kids' lives like a criminal detective, but to investigate your children's lives so you know what's really going on with them. We can't solve our child's problems until we know what's really wrong. And children are masters at hiding what's really wrong. They get upset when they don't understand a situation or when they are in a place where the rules just seem beyond them, or that they can't compete with other kids, or if they get hurt in the process and somebody calls them a name or whatever. They may hide that from you for a long time, but you know something has happened. You just don't know what. So as a mommy or daddy detective, I teach you how to find those clues that will correct the drama that's going on in your house. Now, when I go out and speak, I usually give out, if I can find these things, I give out cards that have the little star on it so you can wear it and think to yourself every time you have to talk to your child about something that's going on or something that's wrong, you can think, okay, what are the 5 different points that I need to look at to make sure I'm really understanding this problem. So today I'm going to give you those 5 points. A mommy or daddy detective will investigate every single clue they can find so that we can provide a solution that works. Because if you miss something, you may have a pretty good solution, but if you're missing over here that the child just feels like they can't do what's being asked of them, so there's a self-esteem issue. If you miss that, then the solution's going to be off balance and not quite work right. See? So the 5 points of a detective star badge are represented by the 5 following points of investigation. And the first one is to go into your child's room, not to tear through stuff or to look around for stuff or whatever, but investigate the scene of the crime. Okay? If they are in there crying one night and you just can't get them to talk to you, maybe the next day go in and sit on their bed and just look around and see what you can see on the surface. Try to see what your child is seeing when they're in that room and make sure that you know as much as you possibly can about your child's world. An example of this is when I see a mom or dad rushing through the mall and they've got their kid's hand, but they're kind of dragging them behind them. They're not seeing their child from the point of 2 feet tall or 4 feet tall or whatever they would be at the point you drag them through the mall. You're seeing it at your level. So if there's a big full crowd at Christmas time, it may not seem too bad to you to wade through the crowd. But if you're a little guy or a little girl holding on to mommy and daddy's hand and all you see are all these legs and people around you, that's going to make you nervous and scared. And what will a 4, 5, 6-year-old kid do with nervous and scared? They're going to be a discipline problem because they're nervous and scared, not because they're being bad, because, oh my goodness, this scares me to death. You just don't understand what it's down like here or what it's like down here, like down here. And they get nervous and upset, and we're trying to hurry through them all. So make sure that the first thing you do is see whatever problem you're trying to fix, whatever issue your child is working on, see it from their level. One of the worst things you can do to a teenager is when they come in and they want to talk to you about how bad they feel about some friend who said something and hurt them. If you want to just hurt your child, all you've got to do is say, "Ah, that's nothing. I had more than that when I was a kid." Never, 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 never belittle your child's problems. Don't do that. Get in there with them and see them at their level, in their lifetime, in what they're dealing with. Make sure you can see what they're saying. Number 2 is body language. It can reveal your child's inner feelings. And you need to know the traits or the tales or whatever of your child. So if your child is doing that when they're nervous, you need to know that. So if you start talking to them about a problem that they're having and they start going, they're nervous. One of my grandkids will do this. They take their fingers and they'll do this. Now, I taught them this to keep them busy when they need to wait for a little bit before entering a conversation or getting their own way or asking a question, whatever. But what I've found out is they also do it when they're nervous. They will do this or they'll play with their fingers. So pay attention to body language. Watch the face and the limbs as he or she interacts with other people. And watch for clues about fear or nerves. It's been a few weeks ago, but a mom and I were sitting at a show type situation, where you kind of like a church. It wasn't a church situation, but, sitting in your pews and waiting for things to start. And we noticed that a child was avoiding a friend. Instead of going past the friend to get out and go to the bathroom, they went this way and up and around. And we asked that child, "Why did you do that?" "Oh, just did." No, that's not good enough. Let me think. Were you nervous? Were you scared? Do they not smell good? I was trying to come up with crazy answers to kind of get them laughing and comfortable. And finally they said, "That person yells a lot and I'm scared of them." "Oh, okay, got it." That's not something we can solve because that person does yell a lot, but it is something that we can understand and protect the child so that when they're around that person, we know they're nervous and scared. That's what you watch for in body language. Number 3, like real detectives who put criminals at ease to reveal protected information, mommy and daddy detectives need to allow their children to have independent thoughts when they talk to us. And you need to praise those thoughts, and you need to be open to listening to them, even if they're about you, because that's going to get you closer to finding out what the problem is. So if your child, now I always had a rule, my kids couldn't tell me they hated me. My kids couldn't tell me that they wanted to get away from me. But what they could do is say, "Mom, I don't like what you did because." And I had to listen, because that's the only way you're going to fix the problem. So allow your child to converse with independent thoughts, and you can use a tool that I talk about a lot in the discipline book, and that is truth time. It was a thing that I used with my kids. I probably only used it 4 or 5 times a piece, but it helped me get to the bottom of what was going on with that child. So here are the rules. I would ask them if they were just having a hard time and they were up the wazoo and I couldn't take it and there was a lot of drama. I would say, "Okay, I'm declaring a truth time. Let's go." And we would go in their room and close the door. Now I would sit in a chair, and they could stand or they could sit in another chair, and just let go with all their emotions, their feelings, everything. Like I said, they couldn't say they hated me because I knew that wasn't true. I knew they loved me, and I just didn't want to hear that. And I don't think it's good for them to say that. But anything else was game. So, in my head now, I'm seeing each of my kids, some of them would pace and they would flail their arms and I just don't like what she did and she did this and that's not fair and I hate this and I hate that. But Mom, I don't know what to do and you're going to have to do something about this because this is ridiculous, and just let it go. Now, no matter what they said, I had to be stone-faced. Absolutely, completely stone-faced. I was listening. I could watch them move around. I couldn't do this. And I couldn't go. No expression, no emotion from my face whatsoever. All I was granting them was a place where they could rant their little hearts out and let me know what was really going on. And when they were done, or when they wound down, I would say, "Are you done now?" And then I would get up and leave the room. Now, that would not be so great for us if we want to help our child, if that's all we did. But here's the other part of the rule. The other part of the rule was that they had 24 hours. And in 24 hours, they had to come up with a solution. And if they couldn't come up with a solution, then I got my turn to talk, to tell them what I thought about the situation, and administer a solution. So during the 24 hours, I'm thinking about a solution, and they are too. Now, a lot of times, at least two, maybe 3 times a piece, each child would come to me and say, "Mom, thanks for listening. I was kind of a jerk. I know, but I just needed to get it out. And I'm sorry, and I'll go apologize to the other person." Sometimes that's all they need. Now, there were a few times where it didn't happen that way, and when we got back together, they didn't have a solution, and I had to give them a solution. But truth time allows you to know where your kid's at, and it's a great way to find out what's going on inside. Number 4, listen for tiny clues that can be devastating. Hurts that are tucked away for a long time. Maybe they don't feel like they've found their place in the family. When we tuck these kind of hurts of feeling like we don't measure up, or we're not what everybody else wants, or we don't get to talk as much as everybody else, or somebody at school hurt us, or some bully is making our life miserable. If they don't get to talk about those things, they tuck them away in their memory cells. And you know when they show up? When they're a teenager. And they're worse because they've festered. So as much as you can, listen for tiny clues. There was one time we were watching TV and one of the boys piped up because some kid who had a really bad tragedy in his life, Michael Jordan, had given him a pair of shoes. Well, we couldn't afford those kind of shoes. And that child said, "Oh, Lucky." I went over, I turned off the TV. I said, "Let me tell you about Lucky. You didn't have that tragedy in your life. You didn't have this. You've got that. No, you don't have those shoes, but you have this and you have that. Do we need to talk about this?" And we did. We talked some. But listen to what your kids are saying. Don't always have your face in the phone or watching TV. Listen to what they say so you can get those tiny clues before they even start or get bigger. Now, the last thing, number 5, is detectives look beyond the crime scene for motives, causes, and accomplices. Get your head on straight for that one. So it might be that some other person, some other relative, grandpa, grandma, an aunt, an uncle, a friend at church, the pastor, whoever has caused some kind of their wheels to turning for a negative way. And you need to be able to recognize that. So look beyond the crime scene. And by that, I mean if they're pitching a fit in the store or they're upset with you in the car, maybe they're really not upset with you. Maybe it's beyond you into something else. So look for motives, causes, accomplices, anything your child touches, breathes, reads, listens to, participates in, talks with, or brushes against. All of those have the possibility to change his thinking. Never rule anything out. And I'm going to leave you with this example. There was one parent that called me and said, we don't know what's wrong. Our teenager, she just turned 13, and she has been wonderful her whole life. And just 2 weeks ago, she has started with bursts of anger. She is yelling at everybody. She's mad all the time. She sleeps a lot. We've questioned her about drugs. We've questioned her about friends. We cannot find what has caused this. We even took her to the doctor and had blood work done to make sure nothing was wrong with her physically, and it's not. Debbie, we don't know what's going on, but she turned from this sweet little girl to this mean little demon in 2 weeks. Can you help us out? I said, sure, but first I'm going to start in her room before she gets home from school. So let me come over. Well, both parents worked, and they gave me a key so I could go in and go up to her room and sit in her room. Big, beautiful house. And went up and I sat in her room and I was looking around and I was praying, God, help me to know what to do to help her. And all of a sudden, my eyes were kind of watering. What is this? And I'm looking around, and then wow, there was a pungent smell that was even hurting my eyes. And what I discovered, I asked some questions of Mom that night, and she said, oh, we moved into our new dream home 2 weeks ago. Really? And does she come home from school? Yeah, she's a latchkey kid. She comes home and she gets her homework done, and we're home about an hour and a half after she gets there so we can spend time with her. I said, so the house is closed up all day long? She said, yeah. I said, I'll get back to you. I got busy, called some doctors, called some paint people and some carpet people, and I asked them, when you put new carpet in a house, if it is locked up, all the windows closed and everything, does it have a chemical smell, or is the carpet or the paint emitting some kind of chemical? Oh, yes. Oh, yes, it can. Okay. So then I went back to the parents and I said, here's what you need to do. Send her to Grandma's house for 2 weeks. Have the carpets cleaned, and open the windows during the day while you're out and while you're at work, and let the house air out. And then let's try this whole process again, because I'd also checked with some doctors and found out that if there is a chemical reaction in the body, it takes about 2 weeks to get everything cleared out. Well, she stayed at Grandma's for 2 weeks, and she went back home, and she was perfect and sweet and happy and lovely. And she admitted to her parents that she'd had stomach aches, that she'd had headaches. So it is vitally important that you never rule anything out. The biggest problem I think parents have is we always think, or I don't do that anymore, but a lot of people always think that when a kid is acting out, that it's because they're a bad kid. So then we want to punish or spank or whatever. You've got to find what the reason is, because punishing and spanking isn't going to help your child whatsoever if you don't eliminate the reason that they're hurting, either physically, mentally, socially, whatever. So today, I hope this has helped you. Get you a hat or get you a star and be a mommy and daddy detective. Because if you do, your children will love you for it, because they know they have parents who are wanting to understand their lives and to help mentor them to have a better life. So God bless you. This is Debbie Jansen. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And you can find my podcast, Minutes of Faith, on most of the podcasts, Spotify and Apple. And you can find me on Facebook. You can go to my website, debbiejansen.com. And if you would like me to come and do a 2-hour session as mommy detective and answer questions and help you with discipline issues, send me a note on my website. Contact me on my website, and I would be happy to talk to you about that. And don't forget, pretty soon, Discipline Exposed, Surviving Fried Worms and Flying Mud Balls will be available in an updated copy, so you've got some good information for today. God bless you. Have a good day.